Boston Bruins beat the Philadelphia Flyers on Thursday to extend their home record to 10-0-0 to begin the season. Chicago Blackhawks coming in Saturday. It was also an opportunity for us to appreciate David Krejci being back in black and gold, and he's cautioning the team, fans, not to get too carried away with the start, knowing there's still a long season ahead. Let's talk about all this and more on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Friday, November 18th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every day. Free and available on your favorite podcast app, on YouTube, so please do hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before at BetOnline, where the game starts. Twitter's still alive this morning, so you can find the podcast there at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me at ENC McLaren, where I'll still be putting up some hockey tweets, dad jokes for the time being. If anything changes there, easiest place to find me and the podcast is on Instagram, I guess, Locked NHL Bruins, at ENC McLaren, and of course, subscribe on the YouTube channel. The Boston Bruins, winners once again on Thursday, defeating the Philadelphia Flyers by a score of 4-1. It's their fifth straight win. They're now 15-2-0 on the season, 10-0-0 on home ice, retaining their spot atop the NHL standings with the Vegas Golden Knights and the New Jersey Devils, who are winners of 11 in a row, hot on their heels. But they're still 2 points ahead of both of those teams. Better point percentage and better goal differential. In fact, plus 11 higher than those two. Boston's at plus 33. Those two teams plus 22. It was David Krejci who stepped up with a couple huge goals in the third period to put this one away. The first came on an exquisite effort from Pavel Zacha, the other on an incredible pass from Nick Foligno. Krejci, of course, coming back after the 1-year absence, after having played over in Czechia. Still, it's his 16th season with the Bruins. He's been through all the ups and downs with this team, and he's, putting this 15-2 start in perspective. He said he wouldn't get carried away. They've had a great start, but it's a long season, a really long season, and they're going to hit some rough patches, just the way it is. For right now, though, they're rolling, and they're trying to get as many wins as they can. I've talked a lot about how the schedule coming up beginning next week into early December is pretty rough, with games against the Lightning, Panthers, Hurricanes, Vegas, Colorado. Krejci said it's hard to win one game. To win this many games, 17 games, 15 wins, that is crazy. Nobody expected that, especially with Marchand and McAvoy on the shelf to begin the season. In the room, they're trying to stay even keel, focusing on the task at hand, and they're doing a pretty good job at it. Getting ready, but always putting the last game behind them and moving on. Krejci personally hadn't looked 100% since missing a couple games a couple weeks ago with an injury, but came up huge for the Bruins after Tomas Nosek and Jake DeBrusk scored to give the Bruins a 2-1 lead in the third period. Krejci responded 16 seconds after the Flyers had made it 2-1 when Pavel Zacha, who got 2 assists, we're going to talk about him later, battled through the Flyers' defense, specifically Ivan Provorov, got a loose puck, tapped it into the slot. Krejci was there to scoop it up and put it over the glove of Carter Hart to make it 3-1. Not that much longer. After that, he deposited Nick Foligno's spin-around feed from the doorstep on the power play to extend the lead to 4-1. Montgomery said, "I thought he was really on. Everything looked on. He looked faster. He was stronger on pucks. He was holding on to pucks. He was skating away from people." Montgomery could tell he was on his game by how quickly he was closing on people in the D zone, and he thought he was a great 200-foot player last night. Montgomery added that Boston's slow start in this one was less about effort and more about having had 3 days off prior to it. It was more a product of not having played in 3 days, the longest they've gone this year since they started. The guys were excited to play. The puck movement was pretty good. They were skating out of position. Offensively, defensively, they were skating out in the middle of the ice a lot, which is uncommon for the Bruins, and Philadelphia took advantage of it. They had some really good looks, but Linus Ullmark once again coming up huge and kept them in the game until the Bruins were finally able to get on the board with that Tomas Nosek goal. Nosek, Foligno, Zacha were all instrumental in this one, but I'm going to give Big Bear of the game to our boy David Krejci. It's just so great to see him back with the Boston Bruins. He had the 2 goals, 2 points, 2 shots on goal in 17 minutes of ice time. His most impactful game of the season for the Bruins. He now has 11 points in 14 games. And again, it's just so great to have him back with the Bruins. Coming up, I'm going to talk about Tomas Nosek's performance, Foligno's resurgence, or a Foligno sauce, as I like to call it, Pavel Zacha's career pace at the moment. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to hockey, basketball, soccer, esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to their website or use your mobile device to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today is available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. Now, the other night, Tomas Nosek ended his his over 10-month goal drought with an empty netter. And last night, he one-timed a Nick Foligno backhand feed from around the back of the net into the back of the net behind Carter Hart. And you could tell that he was happy to score one on a goalie this time around. He said it was different emotions for sure. He dropped down to one knee with a Ray Bork style fist pump. He actually enjoyed this one, happy to put it in. Actually, a goal scorer's happiness. Obviously, a lot different than firing it into an empty net. Feels pretty good to be able to produce something help the team in some way other than defensively. He's now on a career high 4-game point streak, 2 goals, 2 assists. And again, any production the Bruins get from the bottom 6, specifically the fourth line, is a huge bonus for this team. Nick Foligno also delivered with a couple assists of his own, getting that pass over to David Krejci, setting up the Nosek goal, and he continues to bring it each and every night for the Boston Bruins. He is on a 43-point pace. He has 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points through 17 games. And, he's only 4 points off the total he had last year in 64 games. Krejci said Foligno made a great play on his goal. Krejci had gone 9 games without a goal heading into this one. Foligno's been in the league a long time. Krejci's seen him make those plays before. He's a good player. The NHL is all about confidence, and he has it right now. Foligno's assist on the Krejci goal was his 300th of his career, a milestone that he met, kind of a little self-deprecating. He said he can remember every one of them. Sitting next to Krejci, Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, they've all got a lot of points. He's just trying to do his part. He said Montgomery's system makes it easy to anticipate where his teammates are going to be, which is a key part to both of his assists on Thursday night. He said Montgomery's system is fast, but somewhat predictable, and they're really enjoying playing. It's tailored to a lot of the guys in the room, and they feel that when they're playing, they know where guys are supposed to be. You kind of have that sixth sense. It's dangerous because they're playing with so much speed too, so when guys are in the right spots, it makes it really hard on other teams, and you're seeing that right now. Now, the winning streak at home. 10 games now, the second longest streak in NHL history, tied with the 2016-17 Montreal Canadiens and the 1925-26 Ottawa Senators. The 2021-22 Florida Panthers and the 1963-64 Chicago Blackhawks hold the record at 11 games, and the Bruins can match that tomorrow night against those Blackhawks. Linus Ullmark made 22 saves in the win, became the third goalie in Bruins history to win each of his first 8 or more home games to start a season, joining Gillies Gilbert in the 70s and Ross Brooks in the 70s as well. So the Bruins just continue to roll at home in general, and they will try to keep it going tomorrow night against the Chicago Blackhawks, a game that we will preview here in a moment. AJ Greer left the game for a bit with an injury. We'll keep an eye on that. Other guys who stepped up in this one, Taylor Hall with an assist, 6 shots on goal to lead the team. Connor Clifton with a high of 3 shots from the blue line. Charlie McAvoy skating 20 minutes, 37 seconds. He added an assist as well on the Jake DeBrusk power play goal. He now has 3 points in 4 games since his return. All right, we're going to tee up the game tomorrow night against the Chicago Blackhawks here in a moment, but I want to thank you once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day, available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. So the Chicago Blackhawks coming in to Boston to take on our Bruins tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. The Bruins will try to tie the record for most wins at home to begin the season at 11. They're taking on a Chicago Blackhawks team that is 6-7-3 through 16 games, a .469 point percentage, a -11 goal differential, a very beatable team here in the Chicago Blackhawks. They're led in scoring by Patrick Kane. He not as prolific offensively this season as in the past, only 13 points in 16 games. Max Domi with 11 points through 16 games. We all remember him from Game 7 last year against the Hurricanes. Jonathan Toews, a bit of a resurgence with 10 points through 16 games. In net, Peter Mrazek, Arvid Soderblom have been playing mostly lately. Soderblom outplaying Mrazek. Mrazek's only got an .897 point percentage. We'll have to see who's in net for Chicago tomorrow night. But a very, very winnable game for the Boston Bruins. And, it's important to continue to bank these points with this difficult schedule on tap. They do have an 8-point lead in the Atlantic Division at the moment. Toronto with 22 points, the Bruins with 30 points so far, and Toronto has played 18 games compared to Boston's 17. So Bruins have that game in hand. In the Eastern Conference, they're only 2 points up on the Devils, who have won 11 games in a row. And like I talked about yesterday, they're very much a legit team to be concerned about in the Eastern Conference. Linus Ullmark now leads the NHL in terms of goals against average, 1.89. Save percentage, 9.37. It's likely that he'll get tomorrow night off, however, as Jeremy Swayman, healthy, back, given some hugs after the game, and likely to get the start against Chicago to give Ullmark a rest with these more difficult games on tap. As a team, the Bruins continue to lead the league in goals per game at 4 after scoring 4 last night. They have allowed the fewest goals per game as well, 2.12. Their penalty kill remains, they're now down in second place. The San Jose Sharks have the top power play, 92%. Bruins at 90.6. Next closest team is Winnipeg at 84.2. So again, so much to like about the Bruins start. Don't get carried away. David Krejci cautions, but let's be honest. Every win is so fun, and it's just a great time to be a Bruins fan. That's it for today's episode, my friends. I hope you all have a great weekend. We have our first Christmas party of the year tonight, if you can believe it. Basketball for one kid, birthday party for another. I will be watching some 1899 on Netflix. I talked about it the other day. It's a new show from the creators of Dark, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. I watched the first episode last night, and it was very good, and it's going to be a great show, I believe. Still haven't seen the first new episodes of Yellowstone, which I want to check out. We got a couple episodes of The Crown left to watch. So yeah, just chilling here this weekend. For those of you who are getting dumped on with snow, please stay safe. We got a bit on the ground. Haven't switched my tires yet. Won't be doing that for a couple weeks. So stay safe out there. And please do take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll be back on Monday to talk about the Blackhawks game. Preview next week's action. When do the Bruins play next week? After Saturday's game, they will be heading out on the road, I believe, to take on the Lightning. And that game will be played on Monday. So we'll preview that game as well on Monday. All right, that's it. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again not tomorrow. Monday here on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.